and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
David Whiting is here to take your legal calls. He's a Melbourne solicitor. Good morning, David. Do we have homework from last week?
We had no homework.
No homework.
We managed to survive.
So you just watched TV, you went home, put up...
Oh, absolutely, every day.
Feet in the slippers.
Hours, yeah.
Great, that's good. That's nice. David's had a nice, relaxing week. Throw what you want at him. Mitch is in Werribee. What's your query, Mitch?
How's it going, Ralph and David? Look, bit of a two-part question, and I'm calling for someone. If somebody can't get a copy of a will because the family and the family solicitor won't give them a copy, what is the best way to get a copy of it?
How long ago did the person die, Mitch?
I believe 2 years.
And do you know if there was a... let's break it down. Section 50 of the Wills Act says that if you have the will, then you are obliged to provide a copy of it to anyone named in it, anyone named in an earlier will, or any of their descendants or partner. So if it's a person's father or grandfather, you're entitled to a copy of the will. If you believe that the lawyer has it, I'd be interested in the reason for not giving it to you. I'm not going to give it to you, doesn't cut it. I would be going to the Legal Services Board and Commissioner and making a complaint. But it's kind of weird. The legislation says if I've only got a copy of the will, it doesn't say I've got to give you a copy. The other thing you might do is look and see whether there's been probate of the will. And if that's the case, you can get a copy of the will from the Supreme Court. So have a look at supremecourt.vic.gov.au. Have a look at wills and probate, and there's a couple of searches that you can do on the pages there.
Okay, now the second part is they're not in a very good headspace at the moment, and you'd virtually call them homeless and not doing things correctly, but they've got fears that they might have been made voluntary sign a piece of paper that the details actually cut them out of the estate share. If that was the case, who would they complain to then?
Well, it depends on who did it and why it was done. Go to the probate. What you want is to do a search on the Supreme Court website and find out what's there. That will tell you who the executor is. It will also likely tell you who lodged the probate application.
Good luck, Mitch. I hope we answered some of your questions there. Tanya is in Coburg. Tanya, what did you want to ask?
Oh, hi, Rev, and hi, David. I'm calling on behalf of my daughter. She enrolled in a postgraduate subject in one of the universities here in Melbourne, and the subject was called Introduction to Programming. She's a data scientist, so she has already got a graduate degree in all sorts of things. Anyways, she specifically enrolled in this subject to learn how to program and how to design algorithms and so on. But in week 4, after the census date, and that's important, the lecturer changed the subject and removed some of the key topics. And the reason given was that students were finding it difficult to comprehend programming logic. At that point, she said, well, this no longer serves my needs. This isn't going to teach me what I need to know.
Yes.
And applied to withdraw from the subject, which without penalty, which they granted her. But they have refused to refund her $1,000 fee because it was after the census date. And the census date is if you withdraw after the census date, unless you have special consideration, which is usually medical, they won't refund the topic. Now, she's gone down the path of lodging a complaint, and they've refused it. They advised her to lodge a complaint with the University Ombudsman, but they also have refused it. And I'm wondering
what is the basis? I suppose that I would be interested in how much of the course content has changed.
Yes,
Is it substantially the same course with just a couple of elements missing, or is it just a complete rewrite of the course?
So there wasn't a rewrite of the course. There was some topics that were removed entirely, and when she's put in the complaint, it says these topics were removed. The lecturer has come back and said, I've still made the content available. I will just not be assessing that content. At which point I kind of go, well, then she doesn't know if she's competent in that or not.
So maybe the issue is whether or not there's anything, if you can't go to a university ombudsman.
I've gone to University Ombudsman, they've said no. To me, the question is whether there has been a substantial change in the course content. I mean, there's course content changes all the time.
Sure.
We start with a particular plan for the year and we might not finish it.
Yeah. Is it a legal issue or a uni issue, I guess?
I think it's a uni issue. I would be, to me, it's a uni issue. And the question is the extent of the change. And you might actually talk to the lecturer and ask if that person would be able to. So because your daughter wants the skill set, not the qualification. So you might be able to get some assistance from the lecturer in that regard.
Good luck, Tanya. Melissa's in Longford. Melissa, what's your query?
Oh, hi, David and Raph. I'm just calling up about my sister. She's her partner died about 3 years ago, and she now owns her own home, but she's just started in a new relationship, and we were wondering, is there anything she can do to protect her assets if this relationship doesn't work?
Can I ask, Melissa, is this ringing on her behalf or for your view to protect her interests?
But yes, both.
Okay.
Sorry for her. Yeah.
Look, Melissa. The partner will acquire some kind of property rights after 2 years.
Yep.
So not on the first date, not on the second date, not on the third date. At 2 years, presumably you don't anticipate children of this relationship.
No.
So the answer will be it's 2 years. So why would, and relationships, it's a beautifully fuzzy word. It can be, I'm really pleased that you're going out to, has he moved in? All sorts of things. So at some point during that process, you want the two of them to sit down and anticipate failure and sign a document called a binding financial agreement, which is recorded under the Family Law Act.
My sister has 2 children.
It's still the same thing.
Okay,
it's the
so
same process. I would have come along and said, just started dating, would tell me we're just a bit early for a binding financial agreement. Right?
Absolutely, yes.
So maybe give it 6 months, wait till somebody moves in. At that point, come along and say, or as part of that process, here's something we need to think about. We're certainly hopeful it will last forever, but if it doesn't, then what do we do?
Good luck, Melissa. Good luck. 1300 222 774 is the phone number. David Whiting giving you some free legal advice. Judy is in Carrum. Judy, go for it.
Hello, Raph, David. The situation is my niece, my sister's daughter, took over the guardianship of her sister's 2 children upon her sister's death. And she has a son of her own to a man who has subsequently left her. And they're in dire financial situation and he refuses to. They've been to mediation. They're not, they can't afford to stay where they are. They've got the house up for sale.
Yes.
He's refusing to drop the price and allow them to move on. My niece also looks after my sister.
So are you curious what happens if between mediation and court? Is that your query?
Well, do they have to go to court? Because
do they have to go to court?
Well, Judy, they either reach a deal or a judge imposes a deal. There is no midpoint. Either the parties reach an agreement and the purpose of mediation is to assist them in reaching that agreement, or you go before a judge who imposes an outcome that may be what neither of them particularly want.
Well, I think they would just want an end to it so that they can get the girls re-established in high school next year.
That might require a reassessment of what your sister wants in terms of the mediation, and it may be that her ex-partner is being really hard-nosed, or it may be that that person just has a different view of the world.
Good luck.
So I would suggest, Judy, your sister needs to reassess what she would want from a mediation.
Good luck. 1300 222 774. That's the number. Melissa called from Monbulk. What is it, Melissa? What's your query?
Hi, David and Raph. I've got a question about stormwater runoff that's coming down the sides of the road and is being directed via a culvert under the road directly into our property.
Is there supposed to be another culvert on your side of the road?
There's just a ditch, so it comes under the culvert, and then there's just a ditch that is dug to the boundary of our property.
Oh, you mean like a channel to bring it to your land?
Yes. It's a dirt road. So once
yes,
the
but
water...
it would be possible to dig a ditch or a channel that went along the roadway between the road surface and your property. But you're saying, how old is the culvert?
Oh, very, very old. I would imagine it's been there forever. It's under the, it's the way the water is directed, because we are that point is the low point. So there's nowhere else for the water to go other than into our property. But the issue that we have is because of the lie of the land, we have a large area that is just swamp.
But Melissa, I suppose I'm at... There's really two parts to this. It may be that the natural flow of the water would be to your property anyway.
Yes, that is
right,
true.
So what you really want, though, is you want the culvert... what you really want is the water coming from the other side of the road to stay on the other side of the road. Is that what you're trying to achieve?
No. What I'm trying to achieve is a ditch, like a channel on our property from where the water enters into the dam, which is where the water eventually runs. But because there is no ditch, the water just lies.
And do you want the neighbour to help pay for the ditch?
I would like the council to dig the ditch for me, and I want to know if that's...
The council's put the culvert in,
yes.
But the difficulty that I've got, Melissa, is that the water's going to flow onto your property anyway.
Yes, that's right.
So
we accept that the water is going to come onto our property. We don't have a problem with that because we understand there's nowhere else for it to go. But we would just like council to assist us in directing it from where it comes in to the dam.
I don't think you're going to be able to get the council to do works on your property.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Okay. Doesn't mean you can't ask. I just don't see that they will bring a team.
They're reluctant to, that they haven't said they can't or won't.
Okay.
Write another letter, maybe. I don't know.
Or talk to the Ombudsman, but it seems to me that you want some... How big is your property, Melissa?
5 acres.
Okay. It's not quite a suburban block, but it's... So you might consider the Ombudsman. I'd say... I would be... What I'd be putting to council is it's your stormwater that you've chosen to direct onto my property. That comes with an obligation. Is the way I'd put it.
That's our point of view. We
Good luck.
don't have an issue with it happening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. I'll get to more calls after this.
Hello, Michelle. You've got a luggage story about some luggage that went missing.
In a small plane travelling over Mildura, my luggage fell out and it ended up landing in the Mildura tip.
Trevor Chappell.
How did you know that it landed at the tip?
We looked out the window and saw where it was. We just said, the luggage is out. It's flying down. And it was just one of the many, many things that went wrong on that trip.
Afternoons with Trevor Chappell.
On ABC Radio Melbourne and the ABC Listen app.
You're with Raph Epstein on ABC Radio Melbourne.
David Whiting is with you, and Gail has a query in Moorabbin. Go for it, Gail.
Oh, good morning. My question is regarding, we have some tenants who were evicted a while ago and the bond is still with VCAT. They didn't contest it, but they didn't sort of sign it over when we would hope they would. It's been more than 2 years now.
Have you not had a hearing?
Sorry? No, we haven't. Well, we had a hearing. We had them evicted because they had defaulted for about 5 months of rent, and that meant we could get them evicted. But we haven't had even the bond returned, or unless probably wave goodbye to the 5 months of outstanding rent and damages. And I just wondered, is there some sort of process we should follow for now
have you
following
got a
it up with
hearing
VCAT?
date?
No, we haven't.
Well, I would be hassling for a hearing date.
So we can hassle them?
Absolutely.
We can prompt them?
You tell them when you lodged and all the rest of it, and they should give you an indication as how far down the queue you will be.
Oh, okay.
But I've got a building matter in VCAT where we've been given a listing date for November of next year, which is not very helpful.
No,
Gail,
oh goodness.
They do an extraordinarily large amount of business, and they don't have the resources they need.
Yes, that's probably it. All right, thanks for your time. I appreciate that.
Good luck hassling them, Gail. Give them all the detail. Sometimes it helps. Chris is in Geelong. Go for it, Chris.
Yeah, hi there, Raph and David. My question: I'm in a block of strata units. The windows, the outside of the windows is not being maintained by the strata body, and I'm trying to understand who's responsible for the outside of the window frames.
As a general proposition, the Owners Corporation. Now, the plan might say something different, but let's think of this through. Every now and then you'll come across some units where the unit comes with a front garden. Clearly, the windows onto the front garden are inside the unit because the unit you would measure, if you like, on the ground, regardless of the building. But if you were, for example, in a tower that had no balconies, then all of the outside of the building belongs to the Owners Corporation and it's up to them to maintain it. But it's up to them to maintain it to the standard in the way that they want to maintain it, not the way Chris from Geelong wants it maintained. And you then get a question is about who has to pay. Now, and every now and then, I mean, you're in Geelong, it may well be that your windows face the sea and nobody else's does. So your windows need to get done twice as often as the one around the corner. And there's a provision in the legislation that says that if the work is done primarily for one or some units, then I can get more money from you than I do from the other units. But to the very simple question that you put, as a general proposition, the outside of the window frames belongs to the Owners Corporation. I'll even make it even more complicated. If you are in a new block, then the whole of because in the old plans, the boundary between the Owners Corporation and your unit was the midpoint of the wall. So if you like, the pane of glass, all right? But under the new ones,
no way.
It's the inside. They own the whole of the exterior. Owners Corporation owns the whole of the exterior wall, but you're allowed to put something in it to hang your paintings on. So does that make it complicated enough for you, Chris?
Yes, pretty complicated. So okay. the windows are.
Let's just do the outside of the window frame, shall we? Almost inevitably will belong to the Owners Corporation.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. And the windows, by the way, are outside of the centre line of the brick wall.
Yes, but I don't know whether in your development it's the median or the inner face.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep.
Good to know. Chris, good luck. I hope that begins to answer some of your queries there. Hussein is in Chelsea. Go for it.
Hello,
Hussein, you there? I don't know what's going on there. Hussein, I might get back to you. Michael's in Black Rock. What's your issue, Michael?
Hi, Raph and David. Thank you for taking my call. My question, David, is for a friend who's not comfortable with ringing up. She was driving through one of the tunnels in Melbourne and a piece of the roof fell on the car, which smashed the windscreen and damaged the left-hand side of the structure of the car.
And terrified the driver.
Yes. I thought she might come to that.
Yeah.
So she's contacted the authority and they've denied all responsibility, which suggested she go to her insurance company, which didn't quite seem right to us. So we thought we'd ring up and see if you had any advice.
You've got an action against the operator of the tunnel, who then may have an action against the builder of the tunnel, but it's up to you to prove the cause and effect. And now let's split this into two, whether it's a property damage claim, which seems to be fairly straightforward, or a personal injury claim. But whatever you do if you do it fairly quickly, because I'm quite sure that there are tunnel cameras operating 24/7. I just don't know how long they keep them for.
When did it happen?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I guess that they'd still happen. I would be suggesting that the first thing I'd be doing, writing to them and asking for an opportunity to view the camera footage for this particular time frame. And I imagine if it's a tunnel, there'll be a tag, and you'll be able to tell when you went in the tunnel, when the car was driven through the tunnel.
And a query, Michael, because I want to get your details as well. We should follow this one up as a story. Did they concede that the damage came from something that fell from the roof of the tunnel? Did they say anything like that in their communication?
I I can't comment on that.
I got from what Michael was saying, I thought it was a straight denial, not us. Anyway.
Just don't. We're not responsible. Go to your insurance company.
Well, I'm not aware of any legislation that would render them not responsible. So ask for the footage.
Good. Thank you very much.
Michael.
And hang on a tick, Michael. If you're okay, we'll get some details. If you don't want to give us your details, that's okay. But we'll just get Michael's details on line 4 and see if there's something we can follow up there. 1300 222 774 is the phone number. Final reflection on the coffee. A coffee is only as good as the quality of the company you share it with, or the prose you are reading, or the vista presented in front of you, or the wisdom that comes with a quiet moment of reflection. It's not how we make coffee that makes it great. It is how we absorb it. Do you agree? That's from David in St Kilda East. David Whiting, do you agree?
Wow. We used to have coffee in the office. You come into reception, and we had filtered coffee. Nobody does that anymore. It's now everybody has their little pod machine. We don't have a pod machine.
That's okay. Thank you very much, David Whiting.
Thank you, Rap.
David Whiting joins us every Tuesday to talk through your legal issues.